and privileged to introduce our speaker for this morning, Eileen Ballentine. Eileen has been a spiritualist for around 35 years and a professional medium for over 30 years. The personal growth workshops that she teaches give a playful, accepting way of looking at life and its challenges, making it comfortable for students to explore and make shifts that bring them peace and comfort. Eileen's greatest joy these days comes from spending time with her 4 granddaughters. Please welcome Eileen to the podium.
I speak loud. Good morning. Those of you who come here often may have noticed, usually we have a screen and we get to have these lovely songs that you follow along, but the storm took our internet out. So that's why we're singing hymns. And the one we just sang, when my children were little, they came to church with me. We used to have Children's Lyceum. And they'd say, "Are we going to sing the Andy song?" I was like, "Well, you know, Andy walked with me. Andy talked with me." So I requested the Andy song for them. I want to thank you all for being here this morning and sharing your light. Each of you make this community better simply by your presence and showing up and being here. I'm honored to get to be here today and share with you some of the insights that I've gained on my journey here on earth. When Reverend Darrell asked me to speak, he gave me a couple dates to pick from. And so I picked today, July 5th, because I truly believe in my heart that this is the first day of our country's new chapter. I believe our country and the entire world, for that matter, are moving towards an age of peace, empowerment, and freedom for all. Freedom. That's the subject of my talk today. Freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and most importantly, just the freedom to be human, to be divine, and to be as we were always intended to be, joyful and expansive. According to Webster's dictionary, freedom is the power or right to act, speak, and think without external hindrance, coercion, or restraint. It's a multifaceted concept balancing personal autonomy with collective responsibility. And the first freedom that I will address is freedom of religion. Freedom of religion protects spiritualism just as it does any established faith. Our First Amendment shields the right to hold and practice our beliefs, such as communicating with the departed. And the Free Exercise Clause guarantees spiritualists the right to worship, hold seances, and practice mediumship in accordance with their conscience without government supervision. Although it might seem to some people that there have been recent setbacks when it comes to religion and freedom, we are still so far ahead of where we once were. There was a time in our history when it would have been illegal for us to gather today, for me to share messages from Spirit with you. I, for one, am going to do everything I can to keep that freedom. I want it for my children and their children if they choose this path that I've chosen. And today I want to express my gratitude to all the spiritualists who came before me, who paved the way and lit the path so that I have the freedom and the choice to worship as I choose. Spiritualism has helped me to accept my own divinity, and that awareness has been the catalyst for accepting and loving my humanness. So, what am I doing with this religious freedom? I'm serving Spirit. That's it. And that's everything to me. I'm choosing to show up and speak up when Spirit directs me to do so, which leads me to the second freedom that I want to address, which is freedom of expression. And it's the fundamental right to articulate opinions, ideas, and beliefs without government censorship, retaliation, or punishment. It encompasses spoken and written words as well as symbolic acts like art and clothing and peaceful assembly. Some of the principles of freedom of expression are freedom of speech, which is the right to voice your opinion publicly and privately. Freedom of the press, which is the right for journalists to publish news and hold institutions accountable without state interference. Freedom of assembly, which is the right to gather peacefully in public spaces or to protest or associate with certain groups. The right to information, which is the right to seek, receive, and impart knowledge through any medium. Freedom of expression is widely recognized as the cornerstone of a healthy democracy. I know that right now it seems to many as though these freedoms are being challenged and or changed. I also know that this has caused a great divide in our country. But maybe, just maybe, this is a time of hope and evolvement. Maybe we're being called to really look within and take stock of our own autonomy rather than focusing on what they are doing. It's like the song that we sing at the end of every Sunday service. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. I'm asking each of you to look within and get curious. How free are you really? Do you exercise your freedom to choose your own thoughts, feelings, and reactions? Or are you expecting others to do that for you? We can choose to be outraged at others' behaviors, but that leaves little or no energy for us to explore our inner selves. Most importantly, what are you choosing to think? Freedom of thought is defined as the inherent right of an individual to hold, consider, and develop beliefs and opinions and ideas completely independent of outside influence, coercion, or censorship. Yet I have found on my journey that the majority, if not all, of our thoughts, feelings, and reactions are based on other people's opinion of us, what we heard as children, what our government, what our neighbor, what anybody else tells us or thinks of us has become way more important than what we think of ourselves. Freedom of thought is the foundational basis for all other liberties, such as freedom of speech, expression, and religion. For me, freedom of thought and action has been the key that unlocked true peace and joy. But don't get me wrong, this freedom was not handed to me on a silver platter. It's something that I have spent decades forming. I've worked diligently to heal old wounds, challenge old beliefs that I formed before I had the wisdom that I have today. And I used to blame others for my feelings, reactions, even my circumstances. I thought that setting boundaries meant keeping out what I didn't want to deal with. I now have the freedom to know, without a doubt, that no one or nothing, no event can make me feel or act a certain way. Every thought, every feeling, every belief, every action or reaction is my own creation. usually stemming from events, like I said, that happened as a child. Believe me, I try on a daily basis to prove this theory wrong. I'm like, no, come on, let's try this one. But my neighbor was up till 12:30 shooting off fireworks. How can that be my inner choice? I have not been able to find one situation, one person, one anything that I ever couldn't trace back to myself and my beliefs and my responsibility. And for me, for some people, sounds horrible. To me, that's true freedom. To be able to walk this earth knowing that I can show up as me and you can show up as you, and it's fine. By taking responsibility for life, my life, I no longer have the desire or the time to be offended by others. I still have conflicts. Of course I do. I'm human. The difference is I no longer feel the need to make the other person responsible. And that in itself is freedom. A disagreement or a conflict that I have I could chew on that for days, weeks, months, years. Now it lasts a few moments. That's it. And I'm free to move on. When I was, so what led me to this quest, to this inner looking, was when I was raising my children. The pain and discomfort of being so reactionary became louder than the need to prove that I was right. That I had a right to be offended. That I had a right to be unkind to others. That I had a right to feel left out. All these so-called rights were keeping me stuck in the role of victim, which creates the illusion of powerlessness. I can tell you there's not a lot of freedom in that. I lived 20-some years of my life stuck, frozen in that place, and it did not offer me the freedom I have today. These things had become so automatic that I just thought that that's how life was, and just move on. But when the pain of how I was relating to life became unbearable, I reached out for help. And I learned that when someone truly wants assistance and is willing to do the work, Spirit intervenes always. It may not look like what you think, but it will always show up and it will always serve your highest self. Once I decided that I wanted my life to be different, doors started opening. Teachers and healers met me on my path and guided me. And most importantly, I made feeling good the most important intention every day. Sometimes I have to make that declaration 1,000 times in one day, especially when I'm dealing with my grandchildren. Nothing is more important than that I feel good. Yes, I can make 10 dishes at once and get them all hot on the table. So sometimes when I get sucked in, which happens daily, when I get triggered, when I get pulled back into the victim role, I stop, I take a breath, I allow myself that pause. And in that moment, I remember my divinity. And in that remembrance, I'm able to accept my humanity. Next page. I used to think that happiness was the perfect body, a lot of money, the perfect job, and those things are nice, don't get me wrong. But if that's my intention, it's not going to bring me happiness. And I now know the true meaning of happiness is being content with what is. All suffering, in my opinion, stems from wanting things to be different than they are. I want so-and-so to treat me different. I want our government to be different. I want the weather to be different. That's suffering. By accepting my humanness and all that goes with it, I'm truly able to accept my divinity. And for me, acceptance of being both human and divine simultaneously has been the biggest gift that I've given myself. It allows me to show up in life as my true, authentic self. And each and every one of us can have that freedom if we choose. It's my honor to teach workshops and meet privately with clients to share the tools I've collected on my journey. I'll be teaching one down at the Andrew Jackson Davis building in about 2 weeks. If anyone's interested, you can check the calendar, but it'll give you more tools. It's called Please Don't Push My Buttons. I do this work out of service to spirit, and service to anyone who's truly seeking peace and love, especially love of self. That's something that I've learned. I can't love my children more than I love myself. Can't love my grandkids more than I love myself. If you don't have the capacity to love and accept yourself, you will not have the capacity to truly love and accept others. So I invite each of you to make the decision to just look within, get curious, because that's the only path to true freedom. All the answers are inside. People like me, people on the internet, there's lots of people there now to tell you exactly what to think, exactly what to believe, what's going to happen in the world. There's all this information. But you have to quiet down and look within and decide. And even anything I say, if it rings true, really check, does that ring true for me? Or is that just something that works for Eileen? To quote Carl Jung, no matter how isolated you are or how lonely you feel, if you do your work truly and conscientiously, unknown friends and allies will come and seek you out. So, in conclusion, I'm going to share a poem that Spirit wrote through me this morning at 8:45 when I was thinking, oh my gosh, Daryl's going to think I'm not showing up. And so it does not have a title yet. So, untitled. How brave we all are to be here on earth. We chose to incarnate. We chose our own birth. We knew from the start there would be conflict and pain, but we knew in our soul there was so much to gain. With each bend in the road and every obstacle we faced, peace, love, and acceptance were the things we embraced. We gathered together, we laughed and we cried. We chose what we stood for, and we spoke out with pride. Then one day we wake up and remember who we are. We are infinite love, and we shine like a star. So as you continue on this journey called life, there is one sacred truth that will free you from strife. Accepting yourself is the place to begin, for the freedom you seek only comes from within. And so, fellow travelers on this earth and above, let's remember our gifts and let's share them with love. Thank you all for your attention and for being who you are, which each of us is pure love. And the reason we chose to come here is not to give or receive love, it's to be love. Thank you.